Hello and welcome everybody, I am Brandon, and we got a buttload of Metroid Prime news to talk about today. That's right, we finally got some solid evidence here that Metroid Prime Remaster is most likely going to be coming out here at the end of the year. That's right, we got news this morning from Mr. Jeff Grubb, practically confirming the rumors that we've been hearing for the last year or so about this rumored Metroid Prime Remastered. So when is this game coming out? Are we going to be getting the whole Metroid Prime trilogy? And where the hell is Metroid Prime 4? We got all that and more on another episode of Game Corner. Thanks for watching everybody. If you like what I do, please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see more, and I'll stop wasting your time. So like I said, Jeff Grubb dropped some spicy news this morning over on his giant bomb show, Game Mess Mornings, all about this rumored Metroid Prime Remaster that we've been hearing about for quite some time now. Before we jump into what he was saying on Game Mess Mornings though, there's quite a bit of context to go through here. So Jeff Grubb posted on Twitter after Game Mess Mornings where he said, "Shout out to Direct Feed Games and Emily Rogers' blog who have been right about this game from the beginning." So all these rumors started quite a long time ago. We can actually trace them back to last year in September where Emily originally broke the news saying this: "Last I heard, Nintendo was busy working on Metroid Prime 1 to celebrate the game's 20th anniversary in 2022. I'm not sure if we're getting a trilogy or just a re-release of the first game. I'm leaning toward the latter, but I hope we get the former." This was then followed up by Direct Feed Games, who kind of just confirmed Emily's information, saying, "To my understanding, the information framed here is correct. Metroid Prime 1 is a fairly ambitious effort. Metroid Prime 2/3 may be more in line with a remaster. Current plans are individual releases and not a packaged trilogy for Switch." So a couple more months go by and then we hear more from Emily in November. "Work on Metroid Prime 1 Remaster started around 2017-2018. Original plan was to develop and release Prime 1 first, then use Prime 1's foundation, engine, tools, assets, to recreate Prime 2+3 later. Nobody knows if plans were changed/axed after COVID. It could be cool if Nintendo sticks with their original plan and brings all 3 Metroid Primes to Switch. I'm rooting for the best possible scenario here. Only thing I can confirm ATM is Prime 1 exists, and it just wrapped up development over the summer." And then last but not least, Direct Feed Games stoked the fire one last time when they posted this to Twitter. "Retro was working on Metroid Prime Remastered for Nintendo Switch prior to getting Metroid Prime 4. Work on Metroid Prime finished in 2021. Metroid Prime 4 isn't in development hell, it's progressing." So while this is a pretty highly summarized version of the rumors we've been hearing since about last September, we can see that we've had pretty definitive knowledge that Metroid Prime Remaster has been in the works alongside Metroid Prime 4 for quite some time now. So from the sounds of it, Nintendo's planning on releasing a Metroid game for the Metroid 20th anniversary this year, and that production for the game apparently has been wrapped up since summer of 2021. It does also sound like a Metroid Prime 2 and 3 remaster might be in the works here, but the information's a lot more fuzzy around those games. And as for Metroid Prime 4, that game definitely seems to be in development, but still probably quite a ways off. So far this is all tracking as far as the timeline goes. We know that back in 2019, Nintendo actually handed Metroid Prime 4 development over to Retro Studios, at the time citing sort of a reboot and putting it back in the hands of the people who originally made Metroid Prime back on the GameCube. And as far as the remaster goes, I think that makes a lot of sense. The original game came out way back in 2002, so obviously updating the controls and graphics for a modern audience, especially for a lot of people who probably never even played the original Metroid Prime, is a really good call. Especially if you have your brand new Metroid Prime game kind of in the pipeline and you want people to kind of start getting excited for that game down the road. Not to mention adding something like dual analog stick controls would go a long way to bringing a modern audience in on these games. If you remember back on GameCube, Metroid Prime used this like awkward Z trigger targeting sort of thing, which was pretty common for Nintendo games, especially at the time. And then when it got ported over to the Wii, they completely changed it to motion controls to fit the, Nintendo Wii control scheme. So like I said, adding things like dual analog stick controls is going to bring in a whole new generation of players into this series. And kind of the cherry on top of all this is that they're going to be releasing it during Metroid's 20th anniversary, and obviously with Metroid Dread having come out last year, I imagine they still are going to want to capitalize on that anniversary in some way, and this would be a perfect way to do that. So now that we've finally gotten far enough in the timeline, we can finally talk about what Jeff Grubb was saying over on Game Mess Mornings. "I can say that I've been told pretty definitively that Metroid Prime Remastered is going to be one of their big holiday games. In the past, I'd hear something was in the works. They had things happening with that game. Now I've been told that their plans are to release that game this holiday. I think almost certainly to line up with the 20th anniversary in November." So first things first, if Nintendo is planning on releasing Metroid Prime Remaster this holiday season, they are even more stacked than we thought they were. There's quite literally a big Nintendo game coming out just about every month until the end of the year, and this could cap the year off with a December slot or something like that. He also touched a little bit on the Nintendo Direct Mini that we're going to be seeing tomorrow morning, and even though that's supposed to be like a third-party thing, that also brings up a lot of questions about when their first-party show is going to be, and he was mentioning that it might be sometime in the late July. And seeing as how we still need to hear about games like Splatoon 3 and Bayonetta 3, which are also supposed to hit this year, on top of games like Pokemon, which we know is coming in November, and Xenoblade Chronicles 3, which is coming next month, it's all sort of culminating into this idea that we gotta hear about these games at some point, and it's gotta be soon. We're kind of getting to the end of the row here. And if they still plan on releasing these games this year, which as far as we're concerned, they are, they obviously need to get on announcing them or at least showing us trailers in some fashion. Pokemon sort of does its own thing, and we already know that's coming out in November. As far as we're concerned, Splatoon 3 and Xenoblade Chronicles switch places, so we're kind of thinking September for that. I could see Bayonetta maybe being like an October sort of situation, and that sort of leaves December for Metroid Prime. Either way, he did confirm that we're not going to be seeing the trilogy. Unfortunately, we're only going to be seeing the first Metroid Prime Remastered, but it does sound like we might be getting 2 and 3 down the line a little bit. This is most likely a way for them to kind of keep Metroid Prime in the conversation before Metroid Prime 4 inevitably is announced. After hearing this news though, I can only imagine we're not going to be seeing Metroid Prime 4 for quite some time now. Either way, this is pretty exciting stuff, I have to admit. I personally never got a chance to play these back when I was a kid. I never owned a GameCube, so getting to play this on the Switch with modern controls sounds like it could be a really fun ride. Not to mention, I absolutely love to see Metroid getting any sort of mainstream attention that it possibly can. Since Dread came out, it definitely seems like people are warming up to the series again, and I would really love to see a big comeback from Metroid when Prime releases. And obviously a big announcement for Metroid Prime Remastered like this would bring Metroid Prime 4 inevitably closer. Side note, everyone should go download and play Metroid Dread. It is one of the best games of last year, and if you have not played it yet, I highly recommend. It has sold an underrated 3 million copies, and that game deserves much more. Anyway, that's about all the Metroid Prime news I got for you guys today. We kind of went through all the context behind these Metroid Prime rumors that we've been hearing since September of last year, as well as everything that Jeff Grubb was talking about on Game Mess Mornings. As always, when we're talking about rumors and leaks, make sure to take everything that we're saying with a grain of salt. While this stuff is fairly confirmed at this point, we can never say for sure. Also, before I go, I wanted to mention that we've had some pretty horrible things go on in our country in the last week or so, and I'd really love to put some donation links down below where you can go and support reproductive rights. Anyway, I'm Brandon. This was Game Corner. Thanks for watching, and have a kick-ass week.